Advanced cyber warfare tactics. When we're talking about advanced cyber warfare tactics, it's not as simple as your everyday, I forgot my password kind of stuff. This is like the witchcraft of the digital world, because you can do all sorts of dark and evil stuff with a few lines of code. You're turning into the Voldemort of the internet. These tactics are designed to exploit vulnerabilities at a level that can cripple entire nations, disrupt economies, and potentially bring the world to its knees. It's the kind of power that, if mishandled, could bring us back to the Stone Age, where governments, money, and technology are all gone. For example, advanced persistent threats, or APTs, can infiltrate a network and stay hidden for a long time, kind of like that rat living in your home and eating all your food. Just like how you wouldn't hand over the keys to a rocket ship to a teenager who just got their driver's license, you wouldn't want anyone to get their hands on advanced cyber warfare tactics. The potential for people to misuse it could be astronomical. We're talking about cyber attacks that can manipulate financial markets and start wars, all from the comforts of your mother's basement. But it's not just about the immediate dangers. This knowledge is forbidden because it can disrupt the foundation of trust in our digital world. No system would be safe if everyone knew how to carry out advanced cyber attacks. Your bank account, your data, and even your private naked pictures all could be at risk. Society would descend into chaos, with every click making people feel unsafe. Zero-day exploits. Let's say you discovered a secret tunnel to the vault of the world's biggest bank. You'd have two choices. Either tell the authorities there's a security issue, or you go through the tunnel yourself to climb through Forbes' list of billionaires overnight. That's similar to how a zero-day exploit works. This forbidden knowledge essentially allows you to find a vulnerability in a software, operating system, or any digital product. When you see this weakness, there's a good chance that you or anyone else can use it to cause chaos. If this knowledge were to fall into the wrong hands, like cyber criminals or rival governments, it could be used to hack into systems, steal sensitive data, and cause damage to a system faster than the malware you accidentally downloaded when you visited that shady adult website. Because of this, zero-day exploits are closely guarded secrets. They're so vulnerable and dangerous that they're often sold on the dark web for huge amounts. Sharing information about them carelessly is like giving a burglar the keys to every house in a neighborhood. That's why this knowledge is considered forbidden, as it's too powerful and too risky to be widely known. Developers and security experts work tirelessly to patch up vulnerabilities, but the risk remains as long as there are unknown backdoors out there. Human cloning techniques. Let's say you're going about your regular day after waking up, you go to school, only to realize that there's already someone sitting on your desk. The surprise is that this guy looks exactly like you. Then you realize that you've been cloned, but you don't know if you're the original or the clone. Cloning a human being means creating a genetic duplicate of someone. You're creating a twin of yourself or another person, essentially playing God with the push of a few buttons on a machine. It's one thing to clone a sheep, but it's an entirely different thing to clone humans, because questions about human rights and personal identity now come into play. Then there's the high potential for abuse. Even something as simple as cloning a few copies of yourself to go to work, play video games, and go on multiple dates all at the same time is already morally questionable. Other possible abusive practices can include harvesting organs and breeding an army for war. Imagine the destruction if someone created 1 million Brock Lesnar clones to take over the world. So whether or not human cloning is possible or is already happening under our noses, it's knowledge that's best kept hidden from the public because the dangers that come with it are unimaginable. Private key of high-security cryptographic systems. Imagine you have a magical key that opens every door in the world. You could walk into any house, room, vaults, or building without effort. Now, what if there's also a key that can open every safe, unlock every computer, and even access the world's most top-secret information? That's pretty much what a private key in high-security cryptographic systems is. It's a piece of super-secret information that holds the power to secure or expose everything from online banking transactions to the US president's secret White House parties. Think of the private key as the golden ticket in Willy Wonka's factory. It's the crown jewel of cryptography, the key that lets you into the secret chocolate river of sensitive information. Just like only the lucky ticket holders get to enter Wonka's whimsical world, only someone with the matching private key can unlock and decode your encrypted messages. If the private key falls into the wrong hands, it's game over. Your personal data and financial records become public property because anyone can download them as easily as your pirated movies on your computer. computer. It's forbidden knowledge because of the potential of what a private key can do. When misused, it could trigger a digital apocalypse that could destroy or crack open every system in the world. In essence, the private key is a bit like Pandora's box. Once opened, all sorts of chaos can be unleashed, and there's no going back. Secret societies. Secret societies are essentially exclusive clubs where becoming a member isn't about surviving the initiation or the harsh hazing. Instead, these guys are supposedly the richest and most powerful people in the world, running the affairs of modern society behind closed curtains. And they don't want anyone to know that they exist. For secret societies, it's all about power and control. The exclusivity behind their membership and the secrecy behind their existence are the foundations of their influence on the world. They keep their activities, rituals, traditions, and members hidden from everyone to ensure that power stays within the group. It's like how your family's secret barbecue sauce stays in the family so that your backyard barbecues are still the best in the neighborhood. Then there's the fact that these guys, who are usually in the 1% of society, don't want to know that they're behind everything happening in the world, including wars, financial market meltdowns, and government decisions. Imagine if the rest of the 99% realize that there's a secret society controlling the world through invisible puppet strings. It's going to be Occupy Wall Street all over again, but on a grander scale. Dark web marketplaces. Imagine you're in a hidden alley in a bustling city that sells secret goods you don't normally find in malls. It's like Diagon Alley in the Harry Potter books, but instead of wands and potions, you get to buy illegal stuff like organs, hitmen, and drugs. That's exactly how dark web marketplaces work. This side of the internet is like the secret basement of the web. It's hidden, spooky, and not in the phone book. To get in, you need some fancy software that's like having a cloak of invisibility. But once you step in, you might find a bazaar of shady deals and sketchy activities that make a haunted house look like a playground. The dark web facilitates transactions that break the law or are considered taboo. For example, hiring a hitman online can be tempting, but it's illegal and highly unethical. It glamorizes or normalizes behavior that shouldn't even be legal or normal. These marketplaces are also full of shady characters who are only there to scam the dollars out of your bank account. The anonymity factor may protect buyers, but also shield scammers and criminals. You might be dealing with a fraudster or someone looking to harm you in person, such as kidnapping you and selling your organs on the black market. Dwelling in the dark web is like entering a game with no rules and many risks. The dangerous aspect of the dark web marketplace is why it's forbidden knowledge. Search engines and governments don't want you to know how to access these marketplaces for your good. It's best avoided if you want to stay on the right side of the law and keep your online experience safe and positive. Occult Sciences. Let's say the world is a huge library full of different knowledge sections, but there's a locked part of the library that's off limits, because this is where you can find the weird and mysterious knowledge of occult sciences. And there's a reason why your gold member library card can't access this forbidden section. Occult sciences cover things outside the scope of mainstream science and religion, including alchemy, astrology, mystical practices, and magic. These things include casting spells to make your crush fall for you, communicating with the spirit of your great-grandpa, or predicting the future to see if you're going to be a billionaire. You might view these sciences as harmful practices that may or may not work, but governments and societies view them with suspicion, not only because they challenge conventional understanding, but also because they step into territories you can't easily explain or control. And that can be unsettling, especially if you end up summoning a demon who takes over your body. There's also the potential for misuse. Occult practices can involve rituals and symbols that are considered taboo or harmful. You're looking at things like animal or even human sacrifices. One day you're chilling at home, the next day your parents file a missing report because you got kidnapped by some occult group to be offered to the old gods in exchange for power. That's basically the worst way to make your way to the news headlines. Government black budget projects. What if the taxes you pay didn't fund schools or hospitals, but instead went straight into secret government projects where they invent gadgets for a James Bond wannabe? That's basically what government black budget projects are. Black budget refers to funding for projects that are so secretive that even the recipe for Coca-Cola would look like a public social media post. Their existence is classified, but the thing is that the public openly acknowledges that these projects exist. It's like KFC's secret herbs and spices. You know that The chicken exists, but you don't know the ingredients that go into that finger-licking goodness. Just like how you don't know the mystery behind black-budget projects. The reason why this knowledge is forbidden is that it's a matter of national security. Sensitive information goes into these secretive projects. Even the tiniest details could compromise the entire country's stability. Then there's the potential for misinformation. When details about these projects surface, it's easy for rumors and conspiracies to swirl. Suddenly, your neighbor can't stop talking about how the government has been funding a project to make the president immortal. It's all harmless now, but it could spark enough curiosity for people to start sneaking into government facilities. This channel may or may not be part of a secret black budget project, but we're not asking for your funding. Instead, we just want you to subscribe to our channel and join our Discord. Secret diplomatic agreements and treaties. When you watch the news often, you might see presidents and other world leaders shaking hands, just smiling and waving in front of the camera. But you probably don't know that they've already had diplomatic agreements and treaties behind the scenes, and those handshakes were just for formalities. Countries sometimes make secret diplomatic agreements they're not supposed to share with the public. It's kind of like how you wouldn't share the secret password to your childhood clubhouse. These deals happen in closed-door meetings that don't always make the news. These secrets are kept under wraps, mainly to maintain strategic advantage. If every country knew exactly what was agreed upon, it could lead to unwanted attention and jeopardize national security. For example, the USA might get its feelings hurt if it found out that Canada and Mexico had been exclusively trading maple syrup and tequila in secret. Something as simple as this could affect the relationship between countries. There's also the fact that these agreements often involve sensitive information that could affect the balance of global power. Imagine if your football team had a top-secret game plan, and suddenly everyone knew your strategy. It would be a recipe for disaster. Similarly, if other nations knew the details of these secret deals, it could undermine diplomatic efforts or lead to conflicts. If knowledge about these secret agreements and treaties were to become public, you might as well prepare your doomsday bunker for World War III, especially when international relations break down and force countries to bring out the big guns. Alien technology. You're back in 2019 during the height of the Storm Area 51 event, but instead of the raid failing, it becomes a success. That means you and your buddies get your hands on some sweet alien tech you know nothing about. There's this gadget that you think is an alien toaster, but is actually a teleportation device that beams you to the next galaxy. Now you understand why the government wants to keep alien tech forbidden knowledge. Alien tech is essentially the ultimate cheat code for the universe, because getting your hands on it could help you leapfrog over our current tech. It's like skipping elementary school directly to a PhD. While that sounds nice, it can cause chaos because it messes up the natural progression of our society. Try introducing iPhones and computers to an isolated island tribe, and you'll quickly notice how their society will change. Then there's the question about how you'd handle alien tech. Imagine bringing a tank back to the 5th century. You'd essentially rule the world like a god. It's the same thing for alien tech. No one knows what will happen if it falls into the wrong hands. So whether or not the government has been hiding aliens in Area 51 or some other secret base is still a mystery, but it does make sense why they don't want us snooping around and possibly finding alien tech, because anyone curious enough could accidentally push a button that could blow up the entire universe. Secret prison systems. Imagine being the worst kind of human being on the planet, and they don't put you in a maximum security prison, but in a secret prison system instead. And there's a pretty good reason why these prisons are forbidden knowledge. Think of secret prison systems as that hidden spot you go to when you're playing a game of hide and seek with friends. No one knows it exists, and you'd like to keep it that way. Basically, it's not the kind of place you'd find on a tourist map. But secret prisons aren't just for hiding society's worst scum or keeping important people locked away for good. They're always breeding grounds for human rights abuses, because anything can happen here. After all, if they operate outside the normal prison system, they technically do not exist as far as the public is concerned. If that's the case, then there are no rules or accountability here. Whatever the warden says is the law, as if he's playing a game of Simon Says. But there are international laws in place to ensure every country treats criminals in a humane way. These prison systems, on the other hand, exist to ensure that those good old torture methods can still be used without getting the United Nations knocking on the doorstep. So if you found out about secret prison systems, you'd naturally lose trust in your government. This could undermine the entire legal system and make you think that the feds could kidnap and torture you in a secret prison if you committed something as simple as jaywalking.